we are, of course, tramping that perpetual journey, aren't we? Coming to the answer of those questions. Now, obviously, there's any number of ways to try and finish a lecture on the classics. Let me share a set of lines with you called Disregard. The subtitle, The Storming of the Capitol, 6 January 2021, A Literary Perspective. If classics are classics, it's because they speak to our now. Sounds like Dickens' time, both worst and best. The family fabric torn by storm, leaving only violence, disregard, finger pointing, or wagging. As a final, but is it ever final? Response. Like Homer's Odysseus having to sail between that rock and a hard place of Scyllas pal Charybdis. The only way out is through. Like Hamlet's daddy, who can't endure poison poured in the ear. It only takes words, words, words to sicken a rotting Denmark anyway. Like Golding's Jack, convinced that Machiavelli must be right, and the violent stronger will always trump the soft-spoken weaker, who solves the problem of dissenters with dropping rocks on heads or burning up the only island they've got. The solution to a problem is to create a more prodigious problem. Like Dante's lost in the dark wood of error pilgrim. Later, or maybe sooner, fatigue's resignation takes over. Where's Virgil to whisper, "Get up"? Now, of course, we have to say it out loud when we're talking classics, because Tilly Olson's classic essay, Silences from 1978, is must-reading. Of course, it's one of the sacred texts. It is one of the classics of 303. What is it that Olson argues? Well, why is it that so few women are ever represented before the 20th century when classics start to come? Is it that women weren't writing? Is it that women and writers of color were not writing? No, no. Olson argues, no. Take a look at who was doing all the publishing. And of course, we're talking about a very small group of individuals who are, of course, privileged in any number of ways, of course. They all share in common certain political homogenous views, and they're not going to publish any voices that would be outside of the quote-unquote mainstream. Olson makes a brilliant observation. A classic can only be a classic if it's read. It can only be read if it's published or shared somehow. Today, of course, online. And to that degree, the larger amount of titles that we can share together, the better. Instead of talking about banning texts, we want to talk about reading and appreciating texts. And of course, if we're going to study, for example, Homer's Iliad and Virgil's Aeneid, we also ought to be reading Kurt Vonnegut's Slaughterhouse-Five. They've got to go together in some profound ways. Well, I hope that our discussion of the classics will lead you to more study of classics. Pick them up, read them, enjoy them. Thank you.